So here we go. These are our double door airlocks, keep sound out. My name is Tom Meyer, and I'm the production designer for the HBO series Dune Prophecy. And we are about to take a set tour of some of the iconic sets from the first season. We find ourselves here in the Sisterhood on Wallach 9, and this is the main campus building of the library. This whole set is built for real in camera. You know, it's 10 meters high or 30 feet tall. We have the bookshelves that go all the way up. It's not completely dressed right now, and the sets that you're going to see, that's because we're putting them back together for season 2. You know, behind Mother Superior's desk, you see these kind of beautiful glass orbs, and these are all hand-blown here in Hungary, and they contain the kind of sacred Rosek water. Rosek is the planet from where the Sisterhood fled. So here in this place, which is a bit grim and minimalist and dark, they're kind of, you know, they're in exile. And so we wanted to give them a place that they have taken over and tried to make their own. Here on the wall is a painting of their original school in Rosek. So this is the secret key. And this key opens up the gate that goes down to the Anaral Caverns, which are built below the school. So everything here, we like to have a purpose. Even this is the Azur book, which is kind of the sacred book. It does light up, and it has real text, and it's all in Gallic. And if you really got into it, it was translated from pages from the books. My researcher and I got into the books right away. We read the 2 series, the Legends and the Sisterhood trilogy. So the Butlerian Jihad series, followed by the Sisterhood. Look, we're not making a documentary. So ultimately, you know, what Allison and the writers are doing, our showrunner, is they're kind of trying to pull all these different stories together to tell really entertaining television for an hour, right? And we're trying to tell a series. All of us, the writers, the designers, we all had to really immerse ourselves in this world. That gives us like a good foundation. We feel like we can then branch off from that and kind of start to blend stories together, blend characters together, while staying true to the canon of Dune. One thing that's really wonderful about creating the world of Dune is it is 10,000 years in the future. So everything on this set that you see is bespoke and built from scratch. The chairs, the cabinets, the artwork in the cabinets, the 7 deadly sins that you see lit up back there. Even the rugs here, we had dye sublimated in Denmark and sent here, and then, you know, hand aged, you know, right down to the fraying of the carpet. Within the art department itself, there were 70 art directors, assistant art directors, illustrators, concept artists, you know, on and on, all the way down. There were over 1,200 people that it took to kind of create this world. Even though you might be telling these big epic worlds, at the end of the day, it's about the character, it's about their stories, and it's about how we connect to them and see ourselves reflected in these worlds, even in something strange, right, as a science fiction. But you can see like the depth of these passageways, everything, there's a whole warren of the school, and it goes down and around, and we have all these hallways that connect. The idea is that this was all kind of honed by machines before the machine wars ended. And you can see this kind of like 3D printed corduroy texture that goes across the walls. But all these pieces are kind of riffed off of story points. Originally, it was kind of written that there was a portrait of Raquel after she dies in the opening episode, and we find the Sisterhood 30 years later. But this is where we start to think, you know, sometimes like a bas-relief or stone sculpture, it starts to really make it feel just a little more visceral, a little more tactile. And I think it kind of elevates it from a painting to something you're not used to seeing every day. We are in a post-technology, you know, or neo-Gothic kind of world. Have all these sets to not have screens. It's very refreshing, because one of the things that the studio, HBO, Legendary, and the showrunners and Allison were really keen on exploring was creating a science fiction story that felt old, that felt grounded, that felt real, that these places felt they were 1,000 years old. As we turn around and just kind of look back up at Mother Superior's office, you see all these stubs. Each one of these, and across all of the Sisterhood sets, there's something like 12,000 of these stubs. Each one is handmade. They all have a specific angle. Had a brilliant art director, Alex McCarroll, who kind of carefully calculated the variations. But it gives it this kind of what we call soundstone effect. It gives it this hushed vibe. And what's really cool when you're in here is it creates this sisterhood. It creates this vesper of a nunnery, you know, of some sort of monastic vibe. If you take this kind of shape that is kind of iconic science fiction shapes, right? We are used to seeing these shiny, glossy spaceships that are metal paneled, right? They have a lot of geometry. It looks very modern. There's a lot of hex patterns and all these things that you really see. And I said, if I take some of this iconic kind of typical science fiction language and I reduced it down to really primitive shapes, right? We go back to like I call primitive futurism. And then instead of out of a shiny material, we make it all out of the stone. So now the audience feels it's sci-fi, right? It's not steampunk and it's not Victorian because of the shape is very modern, but the materials are old. So now you're getting this kind of old neo-Gothic-y kind of vibe. We are out on the balcony of the main royal salon. So this is the royal residence of the Carrinos. And you can see over here on the left with those lights, that's the bedroom, and then this is the main salon. And we'll just walk around the back here. Everything that you see within the Carino world it needs to feel old and it needs to feel rich, right? Because this family, the Carrinos, they rule 10,000 planets. So money's not an object for them. They have any resource that they wish at their beck and call. We don't want it to feel like a sci-fi story that just popped up overnight and came out of a box and it's all shiny and new. You want stone to have depth, that it has the oil rub to it, that it gets the sheen to it. So this is a machine embroidered tapestry that has all of the Seleucid fauna and flora in it. You see a Seleucid type, the Seleucid lion and the Seleucid boar, and you see all of the sea life that's written about in the books. And then this is also done with all metallic fibers, metallic threads. We had it made in India. While it's personal and small and detailed, it's epic in its scale. Just as these doors, also at 5 meters, come up into the salon. So what's cool about coming into the space is you have these massive doors, and then we have these kind of Mayan-esque steps. You have to crawl on your hands and knees up to the emperor. The ceiling is oppressive. He's an emperor who's under a lot of pressure, and he's kind of backlit by the sun, and he's given this kind of laurel leaf crown of the ceiling right here. And that's a theme that we wanted to kind of carry through the palace, right? This kind of oppressive quality. We didn't always do soaring high ceilings. In this place, even though money's no object, it's this huge floating ceiling. There's nothing holding it up, right? It completely floats over us. It pushes down. Everything is always pushing down. And this emperor, as you know, through the series, he's struggling throughout. All this furniture is bespoke and handcrafted. We had amazing craftspeople across Hungary, Czech, and also in the UK building these pieces of furniture. Again, like the wood walls, which are all cast panels. The idea is to give it a natural kind of material so it doesn't feel alien. There has to be some sort of warmth and humanity. The audience doesn't always see every element, but my feeling is, by prop, set, deck, art department, by repeating these elements, small and large, over and over again, they build up a certain amount of energy, both for the actors who see it when they're acting, they get to interact with it, and also, I think for the audience, they start to see it, they see that detail. It starts to, I think, keep you engaged. These all connect together, so it's easy to knit these hallways together because we do have doors that are kind of universal. And so visual effects does a great job of pushing these things together. And that's what visual effects, and that's what the studio wanted us to build, these massive sets, so that not so that we could supplant visual effects, but so that visual effects could actually do and expand these worlds. All this detail helps the actors get lost, which I think will in turn help the audience get lost. If everything is alien, it's very hard to get settled into a world. You want something that our actors, our characters feel part of, feel natural to. And so, yeah, you have baseboard and crown moldings and you have wainscoting and bas relief, but you can see the patterns are these kind of parametric patterns. They're very kind of alien or kind of mathematical. In our post-computer world, this palace has been around for 1,000 years. This story that we're in takes place 10,000 years from current day and 10,000 years before Paul Atreides, before Denis' days. So what we're set up here is we're set up for the High Council within the throne room. And you see the throne sitting on top of the dais here. And to the right and left of the throne, these statues. So on the right, you have Serena Butler holding her baby Manion, who's a martyr, murdered by Erasmus. And then on the left, you have Reyna Butler, the warrior with her sword and her orb of war. And she was one of the big martyrs, during the war. That's something that was asked of me, is like, put history into this. So to put history into it, we've got to be referenced to the books. And that, even though it's not all written in the scripts, this was the kind of great part about embedding with the writers and kind of talking, because they would come up with ideas and say, hey, we want to do a throne room. Can you, we would do research. And then we kind of fed one another, which is really great, because they would take some of the things that we would reference or research and then write those into the script. Thrones are common in science fiction and fantasy, but we wanted to stay focused on the characters. So instead of making something that would overpower them, it was really about the characters and their position. The emperor, the ruler, sits in the middle, and the empress or his courtiers sit on either side. It's a fine line, right? There's a lot of rich detail in the room, but at the same time, we're trying to find modern, clean lines. You always wonder, like, does it come across? And I've been really gratified by the fan kind of thread that I've been talking to get into it. And that makes it really worthwhile for all the artists that have put all this time and effort into it. Secret doors and all that, right? And they were camera pockets. But if you turn around here, we have the war room. This had to be a center of power. So what happens here? Again, I have this giant ingot of bronze metal suspended over my head. The walls are all slanting in towards the person in the center, who would be the person in power. And the walls are covered with teeth. Maybe they evoke a Roman shield, maybe they might evoke the mouth of a worm. And I can tell you, like, as many sets as we had in the first season, there are twice as many and twice as big in the next one. I'm so excited to have been able to come back and have this opportunity to kind of further explore the world of Dune. I think, like, the reason that we work in this entertainment industry and tell these stories is to kind of collaborate with other artists that share the same passion. I think anybody who works on these projects, any one of them could be a fine artist in their own realm, have their studio, do their own thing. But we do this because we like that give and take and that collaboration. And ultimately what it does to enrichen our own work, not just, as the sets, but it's kind of cross-pollinates. I know that when people come to sets, they love to come and see and look around, because it is a bit of an ability to kind of suspend your belief and dip into another world.